I asked my fans who also make cakes to submit some of their work so that I could critique it. Ooh, that's a nice looking cake. Now the first thing I'm drawn to are those eyeballs. It looks like they're made of either isomalt, which is basically, it's sugar, so it's kind of like a hard candy. Or it might be made of gelatin, which is how I typically make my eyes. So the reason that I use gelatin is because when I give a cake to somebody, and let's say they get a slice and they're like, "Ooh, I get the eye," and then they take a bite, I get a little bit nervous about the idea that they might bite into a really hard chunk of sugar. If I had to pick something that I would recommend this cake artist do, I would say get a little more creative with the color. Wow, this is crazy. First of all, the armature that you have to build before you even get started sculpting is intense. Like, there has to be something in that hand holding it up and then also holding the hummingbird up. So there's an entire structure from the tail of the hummingbird all the way down to her forearm. And then on top of that, you have the neck up, an entire face, which, let me tell you, faces are the absolute #1 hardest thing to sculpt when it comes to cake. If I'm to critique this one, I kind of wish instead of that yellow and the lace, that maybe she was like in water or something, where, you know, you're using the cake board as a surface that would allow her body to continue. Oh, look how cute. The only thing that maybe I would adjust would be like the belly. It has that dark green arched area, and to me, it's just ever so slightly a little too puffy. If it was just a little bit flatter to his belly, but you know. What? This is fantastic. Okay, let's break this down. Okay, so there's bottles of beer, and these bottles of beer, my guess is they are made of isomalt. I am like 99.9% sure that they are isomalt. So they probably used a mold to create all these bottles. They look perfect. It's so great. And it looks like below the tops of the beer bottles, the cake is actually just below that. So the entire box is cake, and then the bottles are kind of like cake toppers. And I think that they used a sugar printer to get the logo on the side and also the labels on each of the beer bottles. A sugar printer is literally a printer that has edible ink in it, and you print it off onto sugar sheets. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is awesome. This one's awesome too. These are all awesome. This is amazing. Oh, I love it so much. It reminds me of my grandmother. Okay, so I actually just got a little bit sad. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna talk about the cake. It looks awesome. I think the fact that the pot is like this nostalgic, like homey kind of looking pot. You can see the veins in each of the cabbage leaves, like folded over. It just reminds me of exactly what it is, stuffed cabbage. You know what? This cake's perfect. There is no critique. I love it the way it is, and I don't want anything about it to change. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. This is great. All of these cakes are so great. This is great. So when it comes to sculptures of busts, a lot of times people tend to put the shoulders too far forward. So in this bust cake, they got that spot on. The shoulders are set back slightly and the head's a little bit forward, just like reality, like real nature. I mean, especially since he's made of wood. It looks like the wood grain is all pretty much the same depth. But what you can do is you can add some softer feathered marks with these really deep marks, and it creates more depth, and it just looks just like wood. This looks amazing, but if they had just a little bit more variety in those marks, I think that it would just make it just like that much more realistic. This is an awesome cake. Whoever that cake was for, I'm sure they freaked out. It's great.